And take a look at this play with the Seahawks player giving the thumbs up, as in, go over me, miss the tackle, so I can go ahead and score. Completely ridiculous. You can't see this. There's no help for you. Slow motion. Thumbs up. Player goes over the top. Again, there's the thumbs up. In this play here, after this missed tackle by number 33, player there comes in to score. You can't see this. There's no help for you.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your guy, Truth Be Told, and I'm back again, bringing you more on your Rigged NFL. Yeah, baby, we back, man. You already know it. It was a crazy week, man. We saw the primetime slots. I told you they hold the primetime slots for their best games. You know, and we saw something crazy. We're going to go over these recaps over these last games from the Thursday night and Browns game. You already know we got to get to that. But before we do that, I want to get to this video. You know, I started this off with a throwback, and I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can check out the rest of his video and how he broke it down. And it's a short video, but it's still a little bit more than I just showed you, so you can go check that out. You know, this video was for a lot of the NFL fans and the people who ask me, you know, who tell me there's no proof that, you know, anyone's actually in on this. There's no proof that players are going along and would go along. And I know this is going to be hard for you to accept, and you're going to make up some excuse and say he's not giving a thumbs up and this is not what's happening. But you got to open your eyes because it's happening. And no, you're not going to find a lot of proof of it happening. That's why I show you the things that I show you. But you're not going to find a lot of proof of this type things, because when they get caught, they smarten up. They're going to get out in front of it. They're going to start locking these things down. So you're not going to see them catch guys doing this. If you know anything about wrestling, as I told you, this is just like the WWE. They're giving signals so that they know which way to go. And this is exactly what they just did. This is exactly what they did. It's WWE. You know, so we're going to kick it off with some recaps. You want to know who's involved and you want to know how coaches and how all these things start. We're going to recap a little bit of what went on first, because we're going to start it off with Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell is the mastermind behind scripting out these games and, you know, writing these Hollywood stories. Now, for everyone who believes that, yes, the game is rigged to an extent, as far as referees, you know, doing things and maybe here and there a coach making a bad call, you're right about that, because that's how it used to be for the most part. And it all changed in December of 2001. When Roger Goodell became the NFL's executive vice president and chief operating officer. And as you can see, Goodell took responsibility for the NFL's football operations and officiating, which was a position that he used to give offenses an advantage over the defense. Most of the penalty changes, most of the officiating changes that were going on were to benefit the offense. We all know that, to a point where you could barely breathe on the quarterback, because he's going to protect his asset. Now, of course, I'm all with the keeping everything safe and not doing the helmet to helmet and concussions and things, but you could barely touch these guys. You could barely touch them because they're protecting their assets. They paying them as much money as they pay them because they're a part of the scheme, and we're going to get to that. We're going to get down to what happened in Roger Goodell's first season in his position as the executive vice president. And again, the position that Goodell held now gave him power over marketing and sales, stadium development, and strategic planning. Because remember, he's the mastermind of scripting these things out, you know? So in his first season, we get Al Davis, who makes a trade, you know, one of the few of we've ever seen, you know, where you trade in the coach. He traded the coach, you know, for $8 million cash and a bunch of draft picks to the Buccaneers. Just the beginning of that script, because we all know in the end, the Buccaneers came back and John Gruden came back to beat the Oakland Raiders in the Super Bowl. You know, but there was a lot of speculation about sabotage because, as I told you, this is just the beginning and everyone wasn't involved. Before that, it was just referees throwing flags here and there, you know, controlling the game through the penalties. Maybe a coach making a mistake, you know, an obvious call here and there. But it was more about just rigging it for the moment, not rigging it as it's already scripted out. This was already scripted out. The Gruden Bowl. The revenge for a coach coming back against the team, the owner that traded him, you know, because he said that his system wouldn't win a Super Bowl. It was all a script. And we had some players who weren't a part of the script. Hall of Fame players like Tim Brown, legends. Jerry Rice. We're going to go over some of the things that these guys said about this game being sabotaged because they had a game plan to go in running the ball, and 2 days before the Super Bowl, that game plan was scrapped, and they went into a whole nother game plan, which just got them destroyed. And I'm going to let these guys explain it.
This is what happens. We win the AFC Championship. We don't have a weekend in between, so we got to get right to it. Thankfully, they had prepared for us to win the game, so Monday morning we get a booklet says game plan to a championship, right? And we all thinking, oh Lord, please, their defense averaged 280 off on the defensive front. Our offensive line averaged 350, 340. Please let this be, a smash mouth type game plan. Open it up, bam, it's like heaven. Smash mouth, smash mouth. We're gonna go Wheatley and Crockett, and we're gonna smash mouth, and we're gonna, beat these little guys up. Friday morning we get in, and we have a brand new game plan. I'd never had a coach 2 days before a game change a game plan. And to change the game plan so drastically from we're not going to smash them out, we're going to try and throw the ball 60 times versus this guys.
Bill Callahan's Raiders had become predictable.
We go into the Super Bowl knowing that we don't have a chance to win.
Mike, every play they've run, we ran in practice. I know. It's unreal.
The Bucs defense benefited from John Gruden's understanding of the Raiders' offense.
And then you hear from John Lynch, right? He says every play that they've run, we've ran in practice. It's unreal because, once again, you got players who weren't a part of this yet. Now you have some players here and there who are part, but there's still players in this game that's just like these guys, who they don't know. They're out there playing football, and he's just thinking this was just beautiful game planning. But no, it's not. It's that John Gruden had the game plan. They had the script. They knew what they were going to do. So every play they ran, these guys ran in practice. It's not just great coaching. It's unreal, as John Lynch told you.
And Lynch and the defense had a decisive edge.
Where you going with this? Tim Brown came out and said head coach Bill Callahan essentially sabotaged the game to let the Buccaneers win. And you agreed.
And I had played in Super Bowls with the Niners and stuff like that. What you work on all week long, you carry that into that ball game. So we just felt like, it was weird that he made that change, because all week long we talked about pounding the ball, running the ball with the running backs that we had. Then all of a sudden that Saturday, we decided that we were going to throw the ball.
Because you hear the guys on Oakland tell you, you're going from a smash mouth game plan to throwing the ball 60 times, which is the offense that John Gruden installed. So, of course, he's going to know everything that's coming. This is why they were supposed to go in with the smash mouth run attack, something that he wouldn't know. You understand? And then I want you to pay attention to this next part, because he's going to talk about an important player who was the center. He got so drunk that he couldn't play the next game and this and that. But it was more to that story on why he left, because he was fighting for them not to change the game plan and go into this. He knew what was going on.
Now, the guy who this is going to affect the most is Barrett Robbins. Because Barrett Robbins is the one who has to make all the calls. He is begging Callahan, don't do this.
Get the Super Bowl. What was going on?
Oh, it was hell.
I don't have time to prepare for this. Please don't do this. I was with him, and he's begging him, you can't do this to me. No, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do.
I was in a very bad state of mind at that point.
Well, it's that night that Barrett went out and went AWOL, that night.
It all came to a head on Friday night. Turns out, Robbins had left his San Diego hotel, took a cab 20 miles across the Mexican border to Tijuana, and partied all night and most of the next day, on the eve of the biggest game of his life.
Now, does one have to do with the other? I say yes.
Because I've spoken to Rod about this too, Rod Woodson. The game plan was changed on the eve of the game?
Friday morning. Yeah.
Friday morning, Bill Callahan comes in and says what to you guys?
We're going to go back to the offense we had all year. Because we had changed the offense to be more run dominant, where we had a big offensive line, they had a small defensive line, so we were just going to smash them out.
Was that, how much do you think Mr. Davis had in hand?
Oh, no, I don't think he had anything to do with that, no. Absolutely. Well, I think we tried to get to him like Friday afternoon, and I think he had left San Diego to go someplace or whatever. But
you mean you went to go seek him out? To
oh
say,
yeah. Yeah, it was that big of a deal, you know. I mean, from the standpoint of, you know, the mindset of the players. But, you know, we couldn't find them. And then Saturday, we all, you know, try to man up, do that thing, you know, that players do. Hey, we can get it done. We can get it done.
But he was adamant. He was very hard pushing that they shouldn't change this game plan. And what I believe happened, as DC, they were looking for Al Davis. They couldn't get in touch with Al Davis. You know, he was gone. He was nowhere to be found because he knew they were going to come for him too, and he knew he couldn't defend it. So he had to get out of there because he knew what was going on too. He accepted the money for it, you know. But you get a guy who put the pressure on Bill Callahan, and he's in there with him, as they said they went in the office, and then, you know, he got the truth. I believe he got the truth, and it wrecked his brain. It ruined him to know that he worked so hard to get here, and they were going to make these guys throw a game. And he went out, and he got drunk, you know, and he ended up, you know, out of commission. But then, you know, I want to show you that there is one guy who came and spoke out against what Tim Brown and Jerry Rice and some of the other Raiders were saying, and that was Rich Gannon, the quarterback. The guy who was rewarded that season with an MVP, because that's how it goes as well, as you've seen the trend, you know, where Cam Newton, MVP, throws the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan, MVP year, loses the Super Bowl, you know, blows that lead. We all know what happened. You know, Rich Gannon, MVP, goes out and throws 5 interceptions in the Super Bowl, with 3 of those being pick sixes. This is one of the worst performances that you've ever seen from a quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Every play they run, we ran in practice. I know. It's unreal.
Thanks to
And he told you that, you know, Bill Callahan, he's a good guy. He's a good guy, you know. He don't think he would ever do that intentionally. You know, he also says that, you see right here, Tim Brown, he knows that, you know, he speaks highly of Brown's preparation and intelligence. So he, you know, when Brown knows that something's not right, you know, something's not right, because he prepares and he understands this shouldn't be happening. I've been in the game for years. I'm a veteran. Me and Jerry Rice are veterans at this point. This is what Tim Brown knows. You know, these guys are veterans. Jerry Rice is a winner. He's a proven winner. Multiple Super Bowls. He knows what it's like to win a Super Bowl. So when you go changing game plans, he knows this isn't the recipe to success. But Rich Gannon, you know, he was with it because he was that QB, and he was rewarded for that. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that little bit of history, you know, to give you a little bit of insight on what I'm saying when I tell you that everyone is not involved, that there are some players involved, that there are some coaches involved, that we've seen the player giving a thumbs up. We see, you know, the Raiders telling you that these guys sabotage the game. There are insiders on the field. There are insiders on the coaching staff. There are insiders in management. You just got to open your eyes, man. Man, I showed you all that to bring you to this point. You know, here in 2020, he's in his 13th season as the NFL commissioner, where he's been running everything now. He's been running the show. And it's gotten to a point now where scripting and the rigging of games has been questioned by millions of NFL sports fans. You know, because his scripting of these games have become predictable. Again, remember, Disney, ESPN, you know, Disney owns ESPN. Disney's a partner with the NFL. This is what they do. They write these magical stories. And remember, one of the magical stories that they're on right now is that Cleveland Browns team. Remember, we discussed win or lose last week on Prime Time was going to be the transformation of the Browns. You were going to see the Browns in a new light. They were going to start, you know, promoting them as a new team and letting you know that these guys have gotten to another level. They're not getting beaten down anymore. And if you couldn't see how scripted and rigged that game was, you know, down to its WWE moment with Lamar Jackson checking back into the game and throwing a touchdown, then I don't know what to tell you. But I do know the analysts were ready to continue with the narrative and tell you the story just as scripted.
Look, I understand that Browns fans are upset today. But isn't this better than what you're used to? This is different. You're relevant. You're competing. You're contending. And the best is yet to come.
You're looking at this the wrong way. No, Michael, we're going to turn this frown upside down today. That is not how Browns fans should be looking at this. This is not the drive. This is not the comical nature in which the Browns have been losing games since they've been reincarnated. Cleveland has got every reason to feel great this morning. I know what you're saying. You're sick of being close. But this was different. They didn't choke it away. A Browns thing would have been choking it away.
It's not
or blowing it. They didn't do that.
You have to, as a Browns fan, you and the Browns players as an organization and a team have to feel good about their resiliency, have to feel good about the way that they took every blow and responded with a blow of their own. Have to
really close. Makes you wonder, is this game a launching pad for teams? Because there was that shot of Browns fans in the stands afterwards, looking like Browns fans typically look, pained. And I'm not sure that tracks with this game, how this team should feel after it, Woody.
Yeah, I didn't understand why there was such a bad reaction. This is not the old Cleveland. This is the new Cleveland. And
you see, everyone's telling you the same thing. They're not the same old Browns. They're all taking this as a win. You know, even though they lost, they're taking it as a win. Taking it as a new step for the Browns. And, you know, for everyone who's new to the channel and, you know, you just started coming along these last few videos and you see me talking about Cleveland and, you know, a lot of people made statements like, you know, anyone could see that this was coming because Cleveland has a powerhouse lineup and, you know, all of these things. I'm going to take you back because, once again, remember when Roger Goodell, his duties in his new role also involved stadium development and strategic planning. And remember, you know, we discussed how when a team is up for a new stadium or renovations in that stadium, which is coming for Cleveland, and I'm going to show you this, but when they have this coming up, that they're built up to be good. You know, and they'll have a few years where they'll make that run and get the fans behind these guys because they need the money from the taxpayers to help fund that stadium. So let's go back and recap real fast. You know, so if a team's crappy and you come up and, you know, they come to the government and they're looking for funding and they're like, listen, we want to build a new stadium for the Browns. And they're like, what? The Browns there, they suck. I'm using this as an example before we go into this because the Browns have been looking for a new stadium, and there's no coincidence that they're going to be good very soon. And it's not just because Baker is so good; it's because it's part of the script. Baker's there because they want the Browns to be good. So as you see, that was a video that I posted back in February 5th of 2019. You can go back and watch that for yourself. As you see, NFL rigged the trip to Belichick, but that was one I posted back in, you know, February 19. This was coming off of a season. They were 7-8-1 behind Baker Mayfield, the rookie campaign, you know, where he showed some glimpses, but they hadn't no good team yet. You know, they were looking for a coach. They haven't brought in Beckham or Kareem Hunt. You know, and there's a story behind Beckham being absent right now during this run because he was only brought there to bring attention to the Browns so that they could talk about him and have a reason to help make these guys an iconic name. But then he had to go on his, you know, be away while they were able to go on this run so that Baker could get his credit. You understand? This is all just a script. It's all marketing. But as we had discussed back then, that the Cleveland Browns would be the next step to get a stadium, or new stadium renovations, and they have begun priming now. They have begun priming you and predictive programming you to get ready for this stadium. So I'm going to show you how they start this off. They're starting this off with ESPN analysts, you know, making their case of how hard it is to play in Cleveland, you know, and then they'll make comparisons of how, you know, other teams who play in a dome and their quarterbacks have better success. This is a part of priming you to get ready for that stadium.
Again, I used to think what you thought, Bucky, but remember, where does Baker Mayfield play? We give credence to Phil Dawson, one of the greatest kickers in NFL history, not just because he was a great kicker, but because he had to kick in Cleveland outside in those elements. You know, Bucky Brooks, Drew Brees is not the same inside that dome as he is outside in the elements. So is Baker Mayfield's passer rating below 90? Sure. But Baker Mayfield is also doing it in a place that's harder to do it in.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Wildes. When the Browns were on a 4-game winning streak, playing in windstorms and rainstorms, and Baker was throwing for 110 yards. Was the conversation on this show, doesn't matter, they won. Baker gets the game ball.
At Cleveland. I mean, look, it's okay to say there's a problem with the field tonight. Sure. And I'm still astounded, Chris, as are you, that they don't spend every penny, dollar, dime necessary to ensure the highest possible quality of every playing surface for every NFL stadium. It shouldn't be that difficult if they can.
When I show you, the tweets and the articles of these guys talking about how it's been years and they're ready for a retractable roof, this is all a part of the priming. It's a form of marketing. You see, man, it's all a script. It's all a story. It's all predetermined. They already knew that they were going to have these guys be good, well before they started to make that transformation. Well before then. They already knew this was happening. And now they're going to begin to market to the fans of Cleveland, and get them to believe that they need a new stadium or a retractable roof so that would best benefit Baker Mayfield and his new passing talent. These things are all scripted out, man. It's all scripted out. Alex Smith going down in Washington is all scripted out. The Eagles making their quarterback change is all scripted out. And remember, I told you, it's not over for Wentz. It's not over for Wentz. I'll have another video dropping on Sunday morning where we discuss the storylines in full and go over some of these games. But, I told you I don't want to do it too close before the game start. But, that's what it's going to be. So, see y'all Sunday. Let's watch what we got going on. Let's enjoy the show. Because that's all it is. It's great theater, I tell you. But for now, this is what I got for y'all. It's your guy, Truth Be Told. And I'm out, baby. Peace.